Lads, life in camp for you. Two young pups in terms of international experience. How has it been?
No, yeah, it's good. It's obviously always enjoyable to be in camp and be in this environment. It's a little bit different. Everyone walking around in masks, and there's a lot of downtime on your own. I think that's the big difference, is the socialising. Usually, you're kind of with everyone, trying to make the most and get to know everyone as much as possible. But at the minute, that's kind of restricted. So,
in terms of like socialising, for you guys, where experience is at one end of the lower end of the scale, obviously for you guys to mix, to gel, to bond, to form relationships, do you find that harder? Obviously being locked away in your rooms and not being able to kind of have the team room as accessible as it previously was.
I think you just got to make the most of the rugby sessions, the gym sessions, the meetings and the dinner times. Make the most of those. Try and sit with some different people at dinner, chat to different people, do some skill extras after with different people, and just kind of utilize that time instead.
Boy, always do skill extras.
Exactly.
The boss likes skill extras, mate. Because to a lot of our listeners, you guys unknown entities. You're new to the scene relatively. Dobby, you've been around a little bit. Will, I actually had to go on your Instagram today to find out more information on you. It's a lovely Instagram, by the way. I'll give that a plug. There's some lovely shots of the big man wearing minimal clothing. Big fan. But what sort of people are you? Do you kind of, because for me, I crave that social interaction around meal times, around the changing room. I loved all that. But as soon as training was done and I'd done my meal time, and I quite liked my own space as well. So are you guys kind of introverted, extroverted? Will, I'll come to you first. What sort of person are you?
I'm a bit of I'd say I probably usually, one of my big things like coming into camp, like my first involvement was last Six Nations. And obviously I was like, obviously kind of new coming in. I was a bit apprehensive about, obviously like meeting all these new people, but everyone makes such an effort trying to sort of get everyone to gel quickly that you kind of get to know everyone pretty quickly. But like for me personally, I'm probably I'm a bit of a social hand grenade at the best of times. So I usually try and keep in my room, but no, it's been good. Everyone makes such a sort of effort to get to know you and sort of trying to be part of the team as quickly as possible.
You sound like a good team man, Will. And Eddie loves people to just be themselves, mate. So if you want to be a social hand grenade, you be a social hand grenade. Dobby, what about you?
Yeah, probably a bit similar to you in the day and stuff. Like to socialise and try and do as much as possible and keep busy. But I guess that's the one positive for me with the whole COVID stuff, is at the minute you get your own room. And it's quite nice in the evenings, especially when you're in camp for quite a while, to have your own space. We're at Lensbury now. We kind of all settled in, got our own rooms, unpack and make it as comfy as possible, and to have that own space is pretty nice after some days. Yeah.
What about like going away from home? So talking to Anthony Watson, who's obviously got a newborn back at home, and for me, as 28, 29, 30, geez, I don't even know when I had my first child. Maybe I was 29, 30. But leaving home when your wife's at home with a newborn and you got, your kids understand that you're leaving. For you guys, to my knowledge, don't have children. You have dogs. What's it like leaving for you? Are you kind of happy to leave home and come into this environment, or do you get apprehensive about it? What's your feelings there?
Yeah, I mean, it's always that mixed things. You're always kind of, especially at the minute when you're in a lockdown and you know that you're leaving people that are going to be on their own. I think that's probably the toughest thing. Knowing that kind of my missus has got the dogs to keep her company and that's about it. It's probably the toughest thing. But
do your dogs have an Instagram?
Yeah.
Well, that is pathetic. You and Elliot Daly. That is disgusting. How have you got time to run your own social media account, train? I'm sure you do something really impressive in your downtime as well, and run a dog social media account. How many of them?
I don't run the accounts. I've actually there's two. There's one for my bulldog and one for my two Frenchies.
Give them a plug, mate. Where can we find? What's Elliot's Puglet? The Winston the pug, or
Yeah,
What's yours?
so I got brothers Buddy and Bear, which are the Frenchies, and Coco, the rescue bully, because we recently rescued a little bulldog.
Oh,
So
you're just so great.
I know, but yeah. Anyway, going back to that, that's it really. I think support wise, obviously she knows that why I'm leaving, and kind of she's massively supportive on that kind of side of it. It's always, I think, tougher for the lads leaving, just knowing that we get to come here and kind of do what we love, and we're pretty lucky at the minute to be able to do that. We can still socialise and be around a good group of lads, but knowing that you're kind of leaving them to their own is always the tough thing, I think, especially at the minute.
What about you, Big Will?
Yeah, I don't have too many responsibilities at home, so there's not much to sort of much I have to sort of manage back there. So I think my missus is probably happy to be shot of me for a few weeks. She was buzzing when I left, but yeah, there's I think obviously for the lads who've got young kids, it's a slightly different kettle of fish. But for a lot of the younger lads, I think there's obviously with everyone else is a lot more restricted than us right now in camp. We can see people a lot more, see a lot of our mates and chat and stuff. So yeah, it was quite exciting coming in.
You guys, how well do you know each other? You played at Wasp together. What's the history like there?
I kind of came into the club when Will was pretty young, and we had a good few years together. Kind of probably at different ends. I was hung around with a different crowd and didn't mix with the front row that many times unless it was a social, really. But yeah, it was obviously it was good, and it was pretty disappointing that we obviously managed to lose him in the end to Bath. I think a lot of the boys enjoyed his social side and obviously his rugby side as well.
Can you explain to us why we call you Dobby?
When I was at Gloucester, I shaved my head, and apparently I looked like Dobby the house elf with a shaved head, no facial hair, and it kind of stuck a little bit. Big Jim Hamilton was one of the few that kind of really tried to make it stick. And then after about a year, everyone just gave in, and it kind of followed me, and it's kind of stuck where it is now.
I think it's a lovely tale, and your hair just didn't grow back.
Exactly, that was the last haircut I had. So
no, don't worry, I'm kind of just sweeping mine and hiding the truth, if I'm honest. On the subject of hair, Will, a quote from you today or a quote from you a few weeks ago saying that your hair is gaining. Your hair, you're more known for your hair than your playing ability. True?
Yeah. I think that was not the main reason I got rid of it, but no, it was that was an underlying issue. I think. Yeah. No,
excuse me, have you got rid of it?
I got rid of it.
Oh, I was about to tell you how impressed and almost like I fancied you because you had this.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm actually just a bit disappointed myself. It was a bit of an impulse decision, and I kind of wish I didn't do it. So I think there's something on the works back there. I've got something in the pipeline.
Quick story on Kieran Brooks, who you both know. We were in Bath for an England training camp, early days in Eddie's sort of reign, and Brooksy kind of fancies himself. He's a big man, good 130 kilos, but spends a lot of time sculpting in front of the mirror. Very clean cut. A lot of hair product and whatnot. Eddie said, tight heads need to be rough and ready, very Dan Cole-esque. And he said to Brooksy, go get a haircut. You fancy yourself too much, like really lighthearted. And Brooksy was like, oh, no. Oh. And then Eddie said, come on. And Eddie gave him 20 quid at the front of the bus and said, go get a haircut. And Brooksy had the afternoon off that afternoon. Do you know what he did?
I'm guessing he got the lid chopped off.
What do you think, Dobby?
Did he shave it or not?
No, he kept his hair, gave the 20 quid back, and he was never seen again. So there's a lesson. If Eddie tells you to get a haircut, all right?
I was going to say, you'd either got it shaved or spent the 20 quid on some food or something.
So the mullet's gone. I thought it gave you some sort of superpowers, and I'm not one for superstition. So are you?
Yeah, I think that's the reason why I stuck around so long. That my fortune turned a little bit as I was growing it, because I kind of started growing it when I started at Bath like a year and a bit ago. So I was a bit reticent to get rid of it, but yeah, no, I think it was a yeah, then we'll see if I start playing terribly, then then we know that what the case is. I have to grow it back.
So I want to talk about your journey to rugby. Dobby, I want you to go first because it actually really creeps me out when I hit Will's inspiration to play the game, because he said he saw Johnny Wilkinson drop a goal and that got him into rugby. And it just shows how young he is. How did you find your way to rugby?
Kind of all my family have played rugby, basically. I've got an older brother, dad, uncle, grandpa, kind of all played. So I kind of went to my local rugby club to watch my dad when I was younger and kicked the ball around and kind of got hooked from that. And yeah, played age group club level back home and then moved to Hartbury when I was 16. Lived at Hartbury for 2 years, which was very enjoyable. The setup there is just crazy. It's just a breeding ground for talent.
Yeah, what is the secret sauce? Is it literally talent, like competitive, everyone going there, which drives it up, or what are they doing?
Yeah, it is competitive, and it's kind of, there's so many people there, and I think I went there and I'd kind of been one of the better players in my team at school and club for since I was 5 till 16, and then I went there and my first year I played third team the whole year, got into the second team and at the end of my first year, and then basically they got a new coach in for pre-season and he took a liking to me. So it's all pretty competitive and there's so many people there that are good players that kind of don't end up making it because it is so competitive. And it's just, you live and breathe it there. That's the thing, is you wake up, you have lectures about rugby, you go to the gym, you do everything. It was a good 2 years.
It sounds almost professional in a way.
Yeah, it is, especially because a lot of people are away from home, so you're kind of bored in. You're living away, so you got your early morning gym sessions, your late evening gym sessions, and it's pretty full on.
And Will, your journey slightly different. You started in the backs and ended up in the front row. There's a quote from you saying that you feel like you're a back trapped inside a prop's body. Is there any evidence to suggest that you've got skills of a back? Do you still believe you can kick?
No, I think that's just self-delusion. But no, I think it's still hanging on to the odd sort of under 8, under 9 game I played at 10.
Just hanging on to that.
Yeah, just hanging on by a thread.
So what about your journey to professional rugby? I mean, it's slightly different. Being a front rower myself, I think I played my first kind of season professionally when I was 19. But as a front rower, it takes years to kind of learn, get used to that level. How did you find it? Coming through as a tight head, especially.
Yeah, well, I was.
So I just want to reference that, being a tight head is obviously probably the most attritional position on the field, in my opinion. Mate, you must get paid a lot of money, right? Mate, good tight head.
I'm still on ACAB wages.
Okay, mate. So yeah, go back. How did you find your way to professionalism?
I started playing probably similar-ish time, 6, 7, and then just through local rugby club, Salisbury and Andover, and then went to school called Radley, like a boarding school in Oxfordshire, and just basically I kind of never really thought of it as a long-term thing, but until I was about 17, 16, and then Tom West, who's obviously in camp as well here now, both in the same year growing up, and we both kind of age 17 got picked up by Wasps, and then just started the junior academy stuff at Wasps, and both got signed, and then did 5 years there. What kind of went on loan to Blackheath, Moseley, and Nottingham, and loved it there, and then I think probably played sort of a season and a half of Prem Rugby with Wasps, and then signed out for Bath. I've been there for about year and a half.
Do you think that sort of championship experience is invaluable to a front row or any rugby player? Are you happy you did it?
Yeah, massively. I mean, I was probably a bit naive. Like coming out of school, I thought I'll probably hopefully playing some first team rugby by this year. And I mean, I was getting just run all over by Nat 1 props and in A League and stuff. So kind of was a bit of a wake up call, like knowing that I wasn't ready. So I had to kind of go through the mill of playing Nat 1, and then and I'm probably a bit biased because obviously it's worked out in the long run for me, but those years were massive for me.
Yeah. What were your first impressions of Dobby at Wasps? Senior player at the time, probably. He's a good 5 years older than you. Established, big money move from Gloucester up to Coventry. Like,
you're talking about the same person still.
Yeah, I'm talking about you. Come on.
I actually, my first memory is just getting like rings run around me in one of those like pre-season fitness touch games, and just being hanging in the middle, and Joe Simpson and Dobby were just running around everyone for fun.
Let's talk about your first caps, boys. Dobby, you've been in and around the squad since when?
Probably 2016, 2017.
Yeah,
in and out, dipping in and out.
Flirted with you for a long time, didn't it, that international cap?
Yeah, it did.
You've had a bit of a... I can imagine it's so bloody satisfying for you now to be there and to be playing and to be involved, because, you know, I've been retired a couple of years now, and you were there when I was there, you know what I mean? And you finally got capped. Can you give us a little bit of the backstory to that? Because you obviously had your DVT and stuff like that, if you're comfortable to talk about it. Can you tell us about that kind of long journey that you had there?
Yeah, obviously, kind of before getting capped, it's always tough. You always kind of think it's closer than it is. I think, especially, you know, thinking back when I was a bit younger, similar to Will, you're almost quite naive. You have a couple of good games in the Prem, and you suddenly start thinking about other things, and then you kind of, you look back and you're like, geez, you've got to work so hard, and you've got to be consistent for a long time to get that opportunity. And I think it was always tough. I think I got injured in the autumn just before as well, that Six Nations, that I was playing well, and that was another setback for me. And, you know, luckily that Six Nations following, I got the opportunity to be in the squad as only 2'9". So, you know, your chances are pretty good to get in the squad to get on a cap. And the first game, I remember we played Ireland, and we ended up smoking them, really. I think it was 35-10 or something away at the Aviva, and it was unbelievable. One of the best games I've ever witnessed, but didn't get on, which is, you know, disappointing. Obviously, it's one of those things you want to get on and experience it, but also at the same time you're buzzing because you're part of a pretty fantastic win. That summed it up as well. I walked into the change rooms and the drug testers were ready for me. The only person not to get on that weekend in the whole of the Six Nations, and I was getting drug tested in the...
Completely random, by the way.
Yeah, terrible. But then, so then the following week, France managed to get on, which was, I don't know, it all felt quite... It was obviously disappointing from the week before to not get on in that game. And then I played at Twickenham in front of, you know, so many friends and family. I had so many people at the game, and, you know, I had my family there to see me get my first cap, have a few drinks with and stuff. And it just felt kind of all worth it in that little bit. And it was kind of, I don't know, I'm a big believer of everything happens for a reason. And I think those kind of things led up to that. And me getting my cap at Twickenham was pretty awesome, and something I'll obviously never forget. And then, unfortunately, had my DVT at the end of that tournament, which was pretty random, a bit scary, to be honest. But that put me out for the Scotland game, and 3-4 months out after that. Yeah.
Do you mind if we elaborate on the DVT stuff? Like,
No,
I didn't know what that was until today.
Yeah, so it's basically, it's deep vein thrombosis. It's kind of blood clots. And I had kind of clots in my leg. So it was probably a couple of weeks before the end of the Six Nations. My calf was a little bit tight. I just felt it a bit tight. And as you guys know, like a little tight calf, you crack on, you get some treatment. You know, it doesn't stop you. It's kind of part of the job, isn't it? It's you don't read that much into it. And then it didn't really get any better. It got a little bit worse. And then we played Italy, my second cap. And I remember waking up the next day and it was pretty swollen and I could barely walk to the physio room. And I was like, this is not right at all. It doesn't, something's not right. So obviously went to the physio room, got it checked out, and they were like, right, we'll go get it scanned. It's not got any better. We'll see. Hopefully, best case scenario, it's this. Worst case scenario, it's DVT. But look, that's kind of worst case scenario. I doubt it'll be that. Went and had my scan on the Monday. Walked down to the training centre to get ready to go train in the afternoon. Doc called me down and was like, look, that kind of the thing that we said that, you know, it's not going to be, it's that. So unfortunately, we need to like get you to hospital and get it sorted. So, you know, luckily.
Was there a sense of urgency around that?
Yeah, pretty much. So I kind of spent the night at Penny Hill and then went to hospital and saw all the specialists the next day. Had pretty much a day full of scans, and it was pretty crazy, really, going from Monday prepping to play against Scotland in the final Six Nations game to be in a hospital, and then had a load of scans that day. Saw the radiologist, and he was basically kind of looked at the scans. Had clots in my calves above my hip and a few dots in my lungs as well. So it was, crazy, really. The first thing he said to me went, so good news. And I went, okay, good. And he was like, it's not cancer. I was like, right, didn't know that was going to be even in this kind of conversation. So obviously, as soon as that's been said, you hit with this kind of seriousness of what's going on. And he said straight away, look, 6 months minimum on blood thinners, so you can't do anything for 6 months. And that was pretty tough. Had a couple of emotional phone calls on the way home to family, and then went back to London the day after that and saw a specialist, a guy called Stephen Black, who kind of deals with, and he was amazing. I mean, I was like, I've got 3 months till the first camp from today, basically. And he was like, right, well, it's a minimum 3 months that you're on blood thinners, or otherwise it's kind of pointless. And he put me in hospital. We had a couple of operations like throughout the next couple of days, sucking as many of the clots out as possible over my 27th birthday, which was pretty enjoyable. And then, he was like, right, we'll check in every week. We'll do this. I want to really attack it. And was kind of really proactive with me, understood, even though he was a South African, he understood the kind of importance of the next 3 months for me and my career. And, you know, it was a pretty tough couple of months, but we managed to get there and had the rescan after 3 months, and it not fully cleared up. A lot of it had scarred up, but they were happy enough with me just cracking on. And luckily enough, I kind of got into that first squad announcement, which was, pretty. We talk about like proud moments. I think that for me was one of the proudest. I mean, I got sacked off after 2 weeks, but just getting in that initial squad for me was such a big moment, because it was kind of going from the highs to highs, getting my first cap to being in hospital a couple of days later, and then to re-get in the squad from that position was pretty awesome for me. So it was, unfortunately it didn't work out for the World Cup for me, but you know, I kind of got back in, and I feel very fortunate now to still be playing. So it's been a bit crazy 18 months.
It's an amazing story. Like, so you're on this kind of upward curve, getting your first, second cap, and everything's going awesome, and then next minute you sat in hospital. Did you have some pretty dark moments? Did you ever, like, was rugby, you know, to continue playing ever not an option? Was there conversations around that at one point?
Yeah, there was early days, and the kind of when you see these radiologists and stuff, and they just look at a scan and they go, this is this. So that's why I was pretty fortunate to like I said, speak to Stephen Black, and he, the specialist who knew my position, knew everything. So he really kind of helped that situation. But there was definitely dark days where you kind of going out, and I felt good in myself. So I felt like I was training, I just couldn't do any contact because of the blood thinners. And I think that was almost more frustrating than any other injury I've had, because you're out there, you're watching the team train, you're doing your fitness on the side, you feel as good as you can go, but you can't do anything. So there was quite a few dark days, but
I've said it before, like my support system around me, my family, my partner and stuff have been amazing, and they were the ones that kind of just kept me as positive as possible. And to get back on the pitch was an awesome feeling.
Did your experience in rugby kind of get you through that time? Did you treat that as like an injury, just a small setback? And did that sort of rugby community help you through that?
Yeah, massively. I think the boys at the club especially were awesome. Just always kind of chatting to me, always making sure that I was okay in what I was doing. And Di at the time obviously was DOR, and he was great. He was kind of came up to me and was like, look, do you want to run the water on game days? Like, we want you involved as much as possible. Whatever you need, kind of thing. And he was great that he reached out as much as possible to kind of keep me involved. So I think sometimes that's the hardest thing, is when you're injured, you feel that separation from, there's the injured group and then the playing group. And sometimes it's pretty tough to merge those. And I think for me, it was because I was fit and there was technically, nothing wrong with me, but I could run and do everything and pass and kick. So their thing was to get me involved as much as possible. I ran a few meetings and did a few quizzes and stuff and tried to have a bit of a laugh with it all. And yes, the support that the club especially and the players gave was awesome.
Great story of resilience and perseverance. I didn't know the depths of that, if I'm honest, and I don't think anyone else says.
I didn't know all the depths, and I was at the club at the time. So.
You're a bloody teammate. You didn't know this. Do you want to apologise to him?
I was still a squid in the academy at that point. I was just would have been lucky to get an edge and a word in edgeways. Will,
only a young man. What have you had any kind of setbacks in your career? Anything of note? Anything tough that's kind of that you've gone through?
No, well, sort of. I don't know. I think kind of it's part and parcel of the game. Everyone has sort of their injuries. I've had a few operations a bit earlier on, sort of on the shoulders, one on the ankle. Nothing too long term, touch wood. Kind of been fairly lucky in that regard, but it's been. No, I wouldn't say plain sailing is the wrong word, but I think the only times is, I don't know, coming through as a young lad, especially in the front row, you're probably looking at like a lot of your peers play under 20s and stuff, and you see a lot of those lads going on playing Premiership rugby, and at that time you're definitely not ready to play. That was my position, and Westy as well, who's here. We kind of lived together at the time, and we were kind of both in and out of loan, both kind of not playing at Wasp, but like playing the old A-League game. But we had a few sappy months together in the house, but.
Or if you sat there on the couch saying how good you were and you should be playing.
No, I think it was the opposite. Both saying how bad we were, should give it up.
No, that's interesting that like people don't see the loan stuff. I know loads of guys go do it, right? Like you train all day at club, and then in the evenings or on your day off, you go and train with a championship club. Like you can rack up some miles, right? And it's not like you stick with a club for a year, like then your Premiership club calls you back because there's a Monday night game, and then you could be travelling reserve down to Gloucester at the weekend, and then all of a sudden on Sunday you're playing for Nottingham. You know what I mean? You can rack up some miles, and you're in 2 or 3 different teams at one point. It's not easy to do, right?
Yeah, no, it's. I had exactly that. I was kind of, I think, for about 6 months, I was TR for most of the Wasp games, but then I was playing the day after or the day before for Nottingham, which was you're racking up some serious miles. I know it's challenging, but I did love it just because the ability to go and play. Like I think that's like obviously training is one thing, but as a young lad you want to be like playing week in week out. So like to be part of somewhere else where you can be playing week in week out was massive.
What about extracurricular? We talk about like players driving their own careers, doing things in your downtime, not 9 till 5, but 5 till 9 athletes. What do you guys do in your spare time that you would call professional?
Well, I mean, since being involved here, I've John Clark JC's, obviously on the big lads to keep the weight where they want it, and keep the mills where they want it. So there's a bit more of a microscope under your sort of body comp than at club level. So yeah, what bike at home is kind of my worst enemy.
Contact conditioning.
Yeah, a bit of contact con, bit of a lot of up downs, a lot of reloads, a lot of sprints.
Yeah, so basically, contact conditioning. Can you explain to our listeners what that is? For me, this is probably the worst fitness in the world.
Well, basically just hitting a bag relentlessly.
I think the idea is to, how many involvements do you have in a game within a minute? It might be 2 or 3.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
basically when you train harder than a game. So it's almost like 1 every 10 seconds or something like that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like 6 involved. Yeah, it's supposed to be 6 sort of efforts in a minute. It's tough. It's good though. But yeah, just the down ups, trying to shift the weight back up off the floor is the issue.
You're a big man, mate. How many kilos?
I'm quite light at the moment.
You can be truthful.
No, I'm quite light. Yeah, I'm since, as I said, since being in here, it's slowly tickled off me. But yeah, I'm about 127.
Quite light, yeah. Listeners are going, whoa. Right. Tell me something interesting. Like, everyone games these days. All we hear about in downtime is gaming, Call of Duty, FIFA. Come on, impress me. Tell me something interesting that you guys do away from the game. Show me that you're just not these rugby robots and you cut from the same cloth as the rest of them. Tell me something interesting.
Me and my missus have got a car leasing company. So we lease out VIP cars and normal cars for professionals and kind of, so we go source different cars and get deals for the boys and anyone that needs a car, basically. So
do you do like hashtag spawn, hashtag gifted?
No.
Come on, mate. I'm unattached at the moment.
Maybe. We'll speak after.
Yeah, we will. So you've got a car leasing business with your missus?
Yeah, which it doesn't sound very glamorous, but it's decent. It's good. It's all good. It's all on social media as well, so it's pretty easy.
Well, I asked for something interesting. It's not that interesting, Dobby. I'm going to come back to you in a second.
It is to me.
Will, impress me. Do you speak another language? You play piano? You got an interesting family history. I know that. We'll touch on that in a minute. What do you do away from the game?
No, there's nothing too groundbreaking. I just sort of moved into a new place, so trying to get the feng shui up in there, not just a bit of interior design. Just bought some new plants.
What sort of plants? Indoor
you
plants?
Love a plant.
Yeah, got this, the bog standard peace lily. Then I actually don't know the name of the other one. It's big though, so it's drinking up the water pretty quick.
Don't water them too much, mate. That's the key with house plants.
No, so. I've already killed one. Overwatering. I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know you could overwater a plant, but apparently you can.
Well, you can overwater a human. It's called drowning them.
Yeah, that does make sense actually.
Yeah, just think about it. Don't overwater your dogs, all right? Well, you don't have dogs. So nothing really. Car leasing business, and you like indoor plants.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's nothing that well, I was about to try and think if there's anything more exciting there. There's nothing.
I read a lovely article on you, Mr. Will Stuart, on your family history. Can you give us a quick kind of landscape of it all?
I've got there's quite a complicated family all over the place. My great grandfather was an actor basically, but he fought in World War One and World War Two. And yeah, the stories that he got shot down by the Red Baron, which I'm yet to confirm or deny, but it says possibly on Wikipedia. So I'll take the family line on that. But
for our younger listeners, I had to actually do this. I'm a little bit embarrassed, but every day is a learning day. Who is the Red Baron?
Baron von Richthofen, who's like the ace German fighter pilot in World War One. I can't remember how many confirmed kills, but there's quite a few. He's been playing too much Call of Duty.
But the Red Baron obviously shot down your grandfather, great grandfather. But it wasn't a confirmed kill. He went on to be a Hollywood actor, right?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, quite a few yeah, just sort of war films, all black and white, just that I all kind of got made to watch when I was younger.
Yeah, I won't dig, but the Daily Mail just probably had a bit more than what you just told us. You and Elliot Daly have a really close friendship.
Yeah.
Obviously, at club, you were really tight.
Yep.
How's that been affected with him moving to Saracens and now you're in camp and Jamie George is around?
I always get this.
Is it a little bit awkward? Because I'll tell you what happened. Harry Williams, when Harry first came into camp, Jamie and Harry Williams started forging a nice little bond, and it got a little bit awkward.
Yeah.
Elliot felt a little bit left out, but Jamie came back to Elliot. It was a weird triangle. How do you fit into this?
I find it fine. I think I'd find it tough, but I get on really well with Jamie as well. So I think it's easy. I think if I didn't get on with Jamie, it'd be tough. We'd be kind of fighting for attention. But no, it's all good.
Sickens me. Will, best mate in camp. Who you mixing with when you can?
Yeah, well, like I was I was at school with Westy from sort of age of 13, so known each other a while, and then Willis, Jack Willis came through the Wasp Academy together, so they both have had to put up living with me for a few years, but yeah, those guys probably spend most time with.
What about is it Tom West?
Yeah.
Are you kind of showing him the ropes? Do you hold his hand around camp, or is it, crack on, do your own thing, or?
Yeah, well, he kind of, when it got announced, he kind of called me up and was asking sort of the odd detail here and there, and asking about the schedule. And I was like, I'm not sure. I've only been here a few months. I'm not sure I'm the best person to ask. I'm not the most reliable either. So, but then we came into camp. I think on the first day, there was a sort of scheduled meeting, and basically I said that we both needed to be there. And he obviously kind of took my word for face value, but it was one of those the team first leaders meetings. So nearly walked straight into one of those with Westy and just led him straight into the frying pan. But thankfully got told last minute that it was the wrong place to be.
Boys, thank you for sharing your evening with me. Appreciate your insights and your honesty. Good luck for the rest of the tournament. Thank you very much.